Hello guys, so today we're gonna talk about My Hero Academia 184 because this chapter definitely left a good impression on me personally at least, and I've seen a lot of other people that also seems to like this chapter, and I really don't blame them because this chapter was, it was great. Not really action-packed or anything, it's more of an info bomb if anything, because we got to learn a lot more. Some of the things that we got to learn was actually things that we've been waiting for a long time, but some other things obviously are brand new, which is quite interesting. But so one of the things that I would really want to go into first is obviously the whole situation with Eri at UA, because as we know, Eri will currently be living at UA, meaning that she's not really going to be having a foster home. Instead, she's going to be at UA full time. And I can understand why, because of the fact that firstly, her quirk can cause some problems depending on what happens in her life, but also some people may want to get their hands on Eri even after Overhaul is gone, meaning that being at UA is probably best for everyone, especially because otherwise that might put the foster family in danger, as well as the fact that Eri was saved from those people. And you know, the first thing you want to do is not to put her in danger of being taken away by the same people or other similar people again. I think that's kind of obvious really, but the other thing that I really want to go into, which is actually Kota and the Wild Pussycats. Now, I did not expect to see these people again in the story this soon, because last time we saw these people was, well, arguably during the Camino arc, you know, when they were saving Bakugo, we got to see some pussycats. But other than that, we haven't really had any relevance with these characters since the Forest Camp arc. So seeing Kota in this chapter is obviously a great thing for me, because I like Kota. I think Kota is a great character, although he hasn't really had a lot of screen time. He's just a kid, you know, he's not that big of a deal. But he gave us some great moments in the story while he was in it, and seeing him being back is just amazing in my opinion. I really hope we get to see some kind of encounter between Kota and Eri really, because as we know, like I said, Eri is being kept at UA, so it kind of makes sense in my opinion, depending on how long Kota and the Wild Pussycats are gonna be at UA, to have the two of them meet, because they seem to be roughly the same age, right? Although they have very different backgrounds to say the least. But just seeing these two people meet, because they're both children, they're both people who has lost or had some negative things happen in their lives, especially on Eri's part, I think, because she's never really experienced friendship or anything before she really met Deku and whatnot, so having someone around her own age probably be a good thing. Now, I don't really think these two characters are gonna be some duo that's gonna be, you know, together for a long period of time or anything. I would just like to see them, you know, meet, you know, see Eri get in contact with someone that's roughly her own age, rather than people that are maybe 10 years older than her or 20, 30 years older than her, you know. I think she needs to be around people her own age. That's what I'm really trying to say here. The Pussycats did say something really interesting, which kind of leads me into the next topic, which is of course the new top 10 pro heroes. Now, this is something that I really did not expect to see this chapter, but so we got the official list for all of the current top 10 pro heroes in Japan, which is quite interesting. So some of the people have been moved away from the top 10 who was previously on it. Some people have been put on it, and you know, some people are still on it, but they've maybe moved up or down a spot or whatever, you know. So at number 10 we have Ryuko, the pro hero that can turn into a dragon, you know, the one that Ochako and Tsuyu were interning with. She was originally at number 9, but now she's number 10, so she's kind of like gone down or up depending on how you view it. And not really that big of a deal, I suppose. It's just one spot at the end of the day, and this is something that changes, I think it was twice a year or something like that, maybe once a year, but it is something that can be changed, and these kind of things are like dictated by how you perform as a pro hero, like what you've done since the last time you were given whatever spot you were given, and so on and so forth. Now at number 9 we have someone called Yorimusha, which is like some really old samurai looking guy. We don't really have a lot of insight on most of these people that are new, but he looks like an old guy. He seems extremely old, in fact too old to really be in duty in my opinion, but yeah. And at number 8 we have Wash, which is like, he looks like a fucking washing machine, which is what some people would consider quite hysterical, but I'm just questioning, you know. And I know you shouldn't really be judging people by their quirk, but how does that guy reach the top 10 pro heroes? Like, I would love some insight. Obviously I don't have a problem with someone like that being in the top 10 or anything, there's no reason why I would, but I'm just curious, you know, exactly what his quirk is, you know, exactly what brought him to where he is, because a quirk like that and a costume like that, if we assume it's a costume, it is just interesting. That's all I really can say about it. Now, the next one is actually super interesting because it's Kamui Woods, a hero that we know really well, but we didn't really know he was in the top 10. In fact, he probably wasn't until this time. So Kamui Woods is obviously the one of the pro heroes that was introduced in the very first chapter, the very first episode of this series, along with like Mount Lady and whatnot. However, Mount Lady is like 23rd, I believe, instead of actually being in the top 10. So out of those three that we saw getting like a team, I think was Kamui Woods, Edgeshot, and Mount Lady. Mount Lady is now the only one not to be within the top 10, which is quite interesting when you think about it. So you might say she's kind of feeling left out, right? Maybe. But next one is Crust. Now Crust, we don't really know much about him. We do kind of get a feeling that he is an All Might fanboy, because the impression that he leaves is that he is definitely into All Might to some extent, or on some level, you know. I don't really know exactly. We don't really know exactly what this guy is about. We do know he's supposedly the shield hero, so I'm guessing he has a more of a defensive power probably, rather than being an offense type. Who knows? I mean, that's just the sort of vibe I get from the name, the shield hero, you know. Now the next one, Miruku, is a bunny hero. Now, bunny heroes, obviously, well, bunnies in general, you know, a bunny character, that's something that every manga needs, right? Yeah, especially when it's a girl, because it just leaves so much room for personality, if you know what I mean. But now we get to the top 4, which is really no surprise to some degree. We know we have Edgeshot, as we all know, you know, the guy who can pretty much just turn himself really thin and whatnot, like fold himself, shit like that. He's considered the ninja hero, right? Now we have Best Genius, which is actually back in duty, which is quite interesting, because Best Genius has been off duty ever since the Camino thing with All For One, because of the fact that he took such injuries. He decided to take some time off, but now he's back. Really happy about that, because Best Genius is a really good character, and I hope we get to see some sort of interaction between him and Bakugo soon. Maybe we won't, but it would be interesting to see that. Now, this one, number 2, this is gonna be the interesting one, because this is the one that we've been waiting for such a long time. Hawks. Now, this is the hero that has been known about, but we didn't know a name, we didn't know anything about him. We only knew that there was a number 2 hero that was unnamed, and this is the guy. This is Hawks. He seems to be a hero that relies on flying a lot, because he has like these hawk wings, and that's really all we can tell about his character. He seems like, based on the sort of description that we have, he appears to be a very laid-back person, or a character, you know. He's not the Bakugo, if you know what I mean. He's not like this loud mouth just going apeshit on everyone type of character. Based on what we've seen from this one shot of him, he seems to be a lot more like Todoroki, I guess you could say, in terms of personality. Like, he is rather laid back, but I'm sure when push comes to shove, he would do everything in his power to make sure that people understand why he is in the top 10. So I really hope we get to see a lot more from this guy, especially in this upcoming arc, because I feel like this top 10 is kind of like being shown because of a reason. I don't think it's random that we're seeing this now, especially seeing how we're being introduced to this Hawks character who has been creeping in the shadows for a long time. We have been waiting to know about this character for such a long time, and now finally we know who he is. We know his name, we sort of know his quirk, we don't really know exactly though. So I really hope we get to see some of him really soon. And then obviously at number 1 we have Endeavor. Nothing really strange about that, but so obviously the one thing that people noticed with Endeavor was that he had a new costume. Now, some people are speculating that Endeavor is also going to be very relevant this arc, along with Tokoyami, because something that's interesting with Tokoyami is that he was apparently interning with Hawks, which I think a lot of people are interested in because of the fact that Tokoyami, you know, apart from the Forest Camp arc, he hasn't really been that relevant, you know. He hasn't really showcased a lot of potential, but the fact that he has been interning with Hawks kind of gave me a different impression, because it kind of shows me that Hawks sees potential in this guy. He wouldn't really ask Tokoyami to be interning with him unless Tokoyami had that said potential. So I think we're gonna be seeing something from Tokoyami, hopefully a lot of good stuff, you know, character development, progression, whatever you want to call it, hopefully along with Hawks, be it backstory or future stuff. You know, we might get to see Tokoyami's internship with Hawks, which would also be really interesting. Now, the last thing that I'm gonna talk about is All For One, because All For One is actually something that was brought up this chapter, also by the Wild Wild Pussycats. We didn't really get to see much from it, but we did see how All For One was in Tartarus, you know, the prison that he's being held in, and he said something really interesting, which is that he has this obsession with taking quirks from people, which we kind of know he does, but he also said that he would like to give some of them back, but at the end of the day they have to be used or something like that, which kind of gives us the idea that All For One has some plan. He has some plan whenever he comes out, if he's broken out. If he's not broken out, he's not really gonna make it out of that prison. And the Wild Wild Pussycats kind of said that, you know, for now we better make sure that we keep this man fully restrained. So obviously they might tighten the security around All For One depending on what might happen, but this could lead into some sort of prison break arc. I don't really think it's gonna happen right now though, because it would feel a bit sudden and stuff like that. I really hope it doesn't happen right away. That'd be kind of underwhelming in a way, in my opinion, seeing as if it just kicks straight into like one of the huge arcs, you know, one of the really most anticipated arcs. I think we need a proper build up to that before that happens, and this isn't really it. So I really hope it happens, but not now. I hope we get maybe 1 or 2 arcs prior to that at least. Maybe more, but at least 1 to 2 arcs. But yeah, that's really all I had to say about this chapter. I really liked it. It gave us some really interesting information about certain characters. You know, we got introduced to a bunch of new characters that are seemingly the top 10 heroes. I would love to know what you guys think about the chapter of My Hero Academia, chapter 184. And if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. This has been Chaotic Plus, and remember everyone, Toga is waifu, Toga is laifu.